Hello, and thank you for joining me on Tennis Volley Talk with Brian Danielson. As last week, I was getting ready and being prepared to go to the U.S. and Fan Appreciation Week. And as you can tell by a new hat, U.S. Open 2025. Then I ended up getting one of this hat and another a shirt and a little U.S. Open tennis string backpack. It was really good. But yeah, nothing without having some troubles almost going there all the way around. It was a nice flight. It was a direct flight all the way in from where I live here in Minneapolis to New York, LaGuardia Airport. The friend that I went with, she ended up, she was in the military, so she ended up getting a very reasonable rate for the flight and the accommodations. We actually stayed in Manhattan. It was at a YMCA hostel, and it was not bad. It had the small rooms, but it had bunk beds. I was on the top bunk, so kind of relived my days whenever I was up in the mountains of Colorado and being on a bunk bed in Colorado. So at the cabin that my aunt and uncle had at one time, and still have the 40 acres up there. But that was always nice to be up there and doing and sleeping on the bunk beds, sometimes up in the loft of the cabin that we had. But with that too, the getting there was, we were trying to decipher and trying to have some coffee at a bar just right next to the gate leaving. And then I got up and turned around. It was like 10 till the time that we were supposed to leave. And everybody was gone. We had to hurry up and get to the plane. We got to our seats and then made it. And the flight was about a 2 hour and 45-minute flight. And it was very nice flight, some turbulence, but not too bad. Coming into LaGuardia, it was a raining kind of a wet day there that day, which was a Wednesday that we made it in. But with that in mind, we then took the bus and got on a bus and then took it to the subway station. Then we took the subway then to Grand Central Station. And with anybody that has been there, it's the 7 train that goes most every place around in New York. And it also goes to the U.S. Open stop that you can get off to go to the U.S. Open, then which we ended up going then to the Fan Appreciation Week on, Thursday and Friday both. Got to see a lot of pros too. But with that, then we made it to Grand Central Station, took some pictures there, which was really fun and very beautiful again. I was there the last year, and it was very, very still awe-inspiring to see that big, huge building and see everything that goes on around and inside of that building. But with that, we ended up then decided to try to walk to the hotel. And I had the app on my phone, started walking, and it got us to almost there, but it was raining and we were wet. And so we decided to take a taxi. And, it was not that far away. Then we were pretty close, but it was probably about a mile away. And then we roundabout the way we went about it. And it was like, a little bit for the taxi to take it there. But along the way, we decided then to go to and from the YMCA and to Grand Central, and then back from Grand Central to the YMCA. We decided to just do that and just pay for a taxi and cost whatever it cost, which really in the long run probably is a lot better than wearing our bodies down for trying to walk for 2.4 miles is how far it was from Grand Central Station. And it can get rather lengthy, but with that too, we ended up then getting to the YMCA, getting ourselves checked in, and it was a very nice, like I said, a small room, a dresser and a lamp and wall mount air conditioning, and I turned that on, and it was fairly decent. It got it cool enough to be comfortable in the room. And then we ended up getting ready, and we went out to eat, and we found a place very close by, J.P. Clark's bar and restaurant. So we ended up going in there, and shout out to everybody at J.B. Clark's. They're in Manhattan at 63rd Street, there in West 63rd Street in Manhattan. So yeah, we had a great meal and talked to some people, talked to the bartenders, and had the very good conversation with going on. And when we were finished with dinner and whatever, we had Coke, and that was about it. And then with that, we then made it back to the YMCA before it got too dark, got ourselves ready for bed, and then I was on the top bunk and kind of got up there pretty good and flexible enough to get up there, so it was okay. So then we got up in the morning on Thursday, and it was really, really nice day out then that day. And we got up and got ourselves ready, took a shower in the bathroom, in the shower that they had, got ready to go. We got up early enough, and we got ourselves ready, and then we went out to walk down the street to go get a taxi cab, and we ended up stopping at a nice little bakery and had some coffee and then a croissant, and kind of had a little bit of something in our stomachs there for our way to make it to a taxi and take us to the Grand Central Station. Then we did that and got there, and then we took the number 7 train all the way to Willette Stop Station, which is the stop that is where the baseball stadium for the Mets play, and then right next to that is where Flushing Meadows and Billie Jean King Tennis Center is. So we got in there, and it had to check us, and it was okay. I had to have my camera bag checked, and then they did the wand on me and everything, and I beeped once, but it was my belt, on my belt. So they let me in. And so we ended up walking a little ways, and went into the American Express live action and kind of experienced some stuff. And it was really nice, and it was fun. And then they had the 2 radio guys that were talking on a radio station there at the U.S. Open, which was really kind of nice. Stood there and watched that for a little bit. But if you YouTubers, if you do like what I'm talking about, be sure and like and subscribe and comment. And you podcasters out there, you're going to be hearing about the racket of the week here coming up pretty soon. And I'll be telling you about one of my rackets that I have, and learn a little bit more about the manufacturer and the racket itself and the endorsed player that's on that racket also. With that, but we did make it there, and I had brought up and joined the app for a fan experience in Arthur Ashe Stadium. So we had made it into Arthur Ashe. We had just missed Novak Djokovic and Alexander Zverev, just missed those guys. But then once everybody piled out because they wanted to see Djokovic, and then we made it down to the seats right next down up to the court, probably about 6 rows back. And then Cam Norrie and Tommy Paul came out, and then they were practicing, and we got to see how they play and the practicing and how they hit the ball. They did a few points here and there, nothing really going hard at it, but good enough that it really was entertaining to be able to see some of the volleys and and the ground strokes and how they return serve and everything of that nature, which was really, really nice to be able to see. And after watching them for about an hour, a little over an hour, we then decided it was getting a little late because we got there at about probably, I would say, noon, 12:30. And so we were there in Arthur Ashe for at least a good couple hours. And then it was getting near the end of their practice session, and then we were going to come back later after we got something to eat. So we went out and we got some drinks, and then we went out and got a hot dog, a kosher hot dog, and it was all beef. It was really a good hot dog too, and they put sauerkraut on it, and then the onions and peppers, and that was really a good hot dog. With that. But we decided to try to go back to Arthur Ashe, but they had canceled the 4:30 session, and so we didn't get to see it. But we did walk around a little bit and looked at the stages, the stage that's out there that people were entertaining and talking, and some of the booths went in, and they call it essentials, which are really the hats and the t-shirts and the bags and the shirts and shorts and all of that you can get there. So I ended up getting a hat, as you can see, and I got a brand new shirt, and then a string bag backpack, which was very nice and convenient, that came in for me, walking around with it, putting some things in it and stuff. So we then decided to go back, and we caught the 7 train, went back to Grand Central, got the taxi, made it back to the YMCA, and then got ourselves rested a little bit. And then we went out and had, at the same place, DJ Clark's, which was a very nice restaurant and very, very pleasurable, and very nice people that were there talking to us. And with that, we had another nice dinner, and it was a very pleasant conversation. We had a great dinner, and then after that, we then went back to the hostel, the YMCA hostel, and then we got ready and prepared for the next day to get up early again and make it to the U.S. Open again this for a second day. Which was good. We got up early enough, and then we went out to another bakery and had some more croissant or something, a little roll, or it was really good too. It was sweet but good, and had some more coffee. And then with that, we decided to get back and got the taxi, and then made it back to the Grand Central Station. And then with that too, then we got the 7 train and made it back to the U.S. Open. And then this year, I decided and wanted to go into Louis Armstrong Stadium instead of Ashe Stadium. And that was really wonderful, because not only did we get to see Carlos Alcaraz practice, and we got to see Karen Khachanov practice, Jessica Pegula practice, and then let's see, Alex de Minaur, and then Daniel Medvedev. He practiced later during the day. And with that, it was just wonderful being able to watch them up close and seeing them up close and in person, to be able to see them hit the ball. And also saw Coco Gauff, who was practicing also against Maria Sakkari. And that was just wonderful to watch, and just the execution that they both had, and the execution of everybody. That was an exciting thing, to be able to watch more tennis players along the way that I got to watch and see that I've never seen play before, which was really fun. Got my phone out, took some pictures, got my digital camera out, and took a lot of pictures that way. I'll show those to you, pretty, a few right now with that. And which all the way around, it was very, very fun to do with the tennis and everything like that. But and also with that, to be able to see the tennis being played with that. And then Friday also we saw the media day, and I got my picture taken with one of the he's a commentator that he was doing commentating and interviewing people for media day, and I ended up getting a picture with him. Gave him one of my podcast cards, which was fun too, and got to see Yannick Sinner, Jessica Pegula, Coco Gauff. The mixed doubles winners were there too, which was really fun to watch and see them do the interview and how they played and what they thought about the mixed doubles during Fan Appreciation Week, which was really fun to see and have their interview there too. And in the background, playing was Stefano Tsitsipas, and he was hitting with a hitting partner. And it was fun to see him and hitting the ball again. And he was still in good form. At least I think he was in good form with that. But also, you YouTubers, like, subscribe, and comment. And also you podcasters out there, like, subscribe, and comment to my YouTube channel, Tennis Volley Talk. But with that, we ended up seeing and staying a little bit later during the day. We went back then to Louis Armstrong Stadium, and then saw, like I said, Alex de Minaur, and then Daniel Medvedev, and play and hit and practice too. And then once that was over with, then we kind of then made our way down, and then made it back to the subway, and made it back to the YMCA hostel, which was a nice ride through the traffic. And I think that the traffic is what gets you with the cost of what the taxis are. That's what gets you with that, is the waiting in the traffic, the red lights, and it's very crowded traffic. So yeah, you just got to sit there and just let the meter run in a sense, because you're stopping and having to wait for stoplights a lot too, and along with the traffic. But it wasn't all that much, and that's why we decided then to and decided that we would take a taxi to and from, which was really a good idea, because like I said, it just wouldn't have been worked out very well with us walking that far of a distance. So it was in the long run a lot better to be able to do that in with that too. And then after that, we made it back to the hotel, or the hostel, the YMCA hostel, and then we rested, and we got up, took a shower on Saturday then, and then we went out and started looking around. And the Lincoln Center was just right across the street, where the opera is played, and the Juilliard School is, and the Fine Arts building, and with all of those buildings right there in one place. They were getting set up, and they had chairs out and a screen that they were going to be watching an opera on the screen, one from last year's performances, which would have been really nice to see. But anyway, I ended up getting some Broadway ticket show for a Broadway show, The Outsiders, and it was really a wonderful show. Kind of held true with The Outsiders. I was in The Outsiders myself, which was really a fun experience, being an extra in a movie. In the first 10 minutes of the movie, you'll see me, but whoever's watched it, you saw me, but didn't know you saw me. So with that, that was a fun thing to watch, and the musical itself, and it was very touching in how they did it and what they did with making that, and it was very, very good with that. And Sunday was just kind of a day that we kind of had to our own self. In my friend, she went out and explored. I went out, I found an e-bike and then decided to ride an e-bike, and I made it over to the Central Park tennis courts, which along the way, the ride was really nice along the roadway, looking at some of the scenery of Central Park as I was going by, which was really nice. Didn't get very many pictures of Central Park, just didn't think about it. And I guess my main focus was being on looking at and finding the Central Park tennis courts, which was what I wanted to see and kind of get the layout and what they look like there at that particular part of the park. And I went up there and took some pictures of myself, which was really fun too. And I do also recommend, and I want to say that I do recommend anybody that does and is in tennis, I do recommend that they do go to the Fan Appreciation Week the week before they start the US Open and go there. And because it is such an experience, and you can still get into Arthur Ashe and Louis Armstrong Stadium and see some pros practice and get to see them up close. And that is the funnest thing about it, is being able to see them up close, which was fun also to be able to do. But other than that, I did go up and over on a bridge and then took a picture of overlooking the skyline of New York from that little vantage point. And it was really, really a nice sight, and just kind of doing a panoramic view of all the buildings in New York and the downtown Manhattan area. And with that, then we met up and we went out to have some dinner and got up on Monday, which then was going to be the day before we left on Tuesday. So we got up on Monday and we got ourselves going really early. So we wanted to go out, and we went to a little bakery again and had some rolls and coffee. And it was really good coffee, some of the better coffee I'd had. And with that, then we decided to make it over to Grand Central again, catch the 7 train. And then we, through the time of me they finally got the tickets, they're e-tickets, and they're done by a barcode now. So that's how they do those, the tickets nowadays on the phone, barcode, boom, and they scan it, and then you're in. And so we made it in there, and it was general admission into Louis Armstrong and the grounds pass. So you could not only do that, but you could also go to the show courts and see and watch the pros play in the show courts also. And with that too, we made it into Louis Armstrong and then found our seats and stayed there. And we saw the Barbara Krejcikova. She ended up playing Elizabeth Mbongo, one of the up-and-comer 17-year-old girls that's out there and hits the ball really good. That in Barbara Krejcikova won in 2 sets, but she was playing very good, and it was a very good match to watch. And then after that, we saw Jack Draper play, and he's a big lefty from Britain. And they split the first 2 sets, but then we were kind of hungry, and so we stepped out and got something to eat. But then he came back and won really quick in the 3rd set, 6-2. So maybe warmed down a little bit. And then that was it for Louis Armstrong for that day session. But we then were able to go around to the show courts a little bit. So I was watching some of the tennis being played there, came across the one show court, and I got to see Jensen Brixby be hitting the ball and got some pictures of him. And it was really nice and good up close, right at those show courts, and people milling around and walking around. And I turned around, and then lo and behold, I see Pam Shriver, which was really an excitement thing to see. And I took a couple pictures of her and me with her in the background. And then I was able to get a selfie with me and Pam Shriver, one of the announcers for E! Network, ESPN, and also Tennis Channel, which was really a fun thing to do also. And what a fun time being able to meet her or kind of say hi to her and have a picture taken with me and her, which was fun to do. And then we ended up I walked around to some of the more show courts, and then was getting late and then decided to go because the night session was coming in. We're waiting, and they had the big crowd waiting for the night session to come in, and we were getting ready to leave the day session. And so all in all, with who we saw and who I saw, was overall unbelievably good this year. And with the digital camera and then my camera, I'm going to get some pictures done. So the next podcast, I'll show you guys some of the pictures that I get of the event, and also the Broadway show that we went to also, and being able to be downtown and on Broadway in New York. So that was always fun too with that. Now, also right now, you YouTubers, you like, subscribe, and comment. And you podcasters, you're going to be hearing about the Racket of the Week here. So if you want to take a look at it, go to my podcast, Tennis Volley Talk, and take a look at it. And today is actually a Spalding racket. And the player that is endorsed on it is John Alexander. And he's the one that's endorsed on it. But this racket here is in around about the 1970s to 80, the 70, 80 era is whenever this racket was manufactured by Spalding. And it's actually handcrafted in Belgium, of all places, in French white ash frame. So white ash is what they may make some of the frame and the rackets with too. This is the original string job on this, but Spalding actually was founded in 1876 by Albert Spalding and his brother J. Walter Spalding in Chicago. The company began as a sporting goods store and quickly expanded into manufacturing and distributor of sporting equipment, becoming an innovator in sports gear. Albert was a manager and also a pitcher for the Boston Red Stockings back in in his debut for them was in 1871, and he last appeared in 1878. So 7 years, not too bad for a baseball player. Spalding also began the realm of with this. Now the racket itself is like, and I like the color because it's the white and the brown on the first half of the head of the racket, and then the white color with the red. And it's an Impact 990 Spalding racket. So with that, the Impact 990, they have certain numbers for each name of each racket for Spalding also that way. With that, but Spalding began its involvement in tennis in 1878, and by selling imported rackets, but became a major manufacturer of its own rackets in early 1900s with that. So also John Alexander, the player that they sponsored on this. Now you podcasters, you if you want to take a look at the racket that I'm showing, just go to my tennis podcast, Tennis Volley Talk, and take a look at it. It's a really good racket, very sturdy, very straight racket. Could probably still hit with it, but I wouldn't recommend it unless you hit very light shots and didn't want to hit or take a full swing at it or anything. Break the strings for sure, probably. But anyway, the endorsed player on the racket that they endorsed was John Alexander, and born July 4th, 1951. And he also then was as high as number 8 in 83. In 83, won 7 singles titles: Auckland, Bristol, Australia, Louisville, North Conway in 77, 79 in Lakeville and Bristol. It was 82 and 83 in Auckland. And then in 77, it was North Conway. And then in 75, WCT, Fort Worth, Tucson. He qualified to get into the WCT in Tucson and Fort Worth. And he qualified for the WCT Dallas finals in 73, 75, and 79. Also, a prolific doubles player, winning a lot amount of doubles in his career also, with different partners too, in the 80s, in the mid-70s, early 70s to late 80s, into right about 1990 is when he was playing in the pro circuits around. But this is the original strings from the manufacturer with this, because of how they make them and the stripes on the strings here, like this. So that's how you can tell it's the strings that came with it as they shipped it to the shop or the sporting goods store, and then they hung it up and ready for sale by somebody and to pick it up that way. So with that, you YouTubers, you're seeing the racket that I'm showing you with the racket of the week. And I like doing that. Just make a comment if you do like me doing that with the racket of the week. Make a comment, like, subscribe, and comment on that. And you podcasters out there, if you want to take a look at the racket, you can certainly do that with my YouTube tennis podcast, Tennis Volley Talk. So with that in mind, it was a very good trip all the way around. We had to get up at early morning on Tuesday, like at 3:15. So we had like a almost 20-hour day on Wednesday. So I was tired by the time I went to bed. Fell asleep really quick, so it was good. But with that, it was really a good trip all the way around. I probably will do it again next year and see what happens, and hopefully I can make it again next year. Not sure exactly where and who and where I will be staying, but I'll find out and maybe find a different place, or go back to the first original there that has its own kitchen. You can go to the bodega and cook your own food if you want to do that. So everybody out there, just have a nice week. And if you're outside playing, keep on hitting outside. I'm doing that, also hitting outside, which has been a fun thing to do for me. And everybody have a good week. And thank you again for having me come and talk to you about my wonderful trip to New York. Everybody have a good week.